just north of Seattle, and we are on the Advanced Supercosmic Science course by Paramhansa Yogananda, and today I'm going to do Lesson 3, Adam and Eve Consciousness. But first, Yogananda would like to tell us a very charming and fun story about being on a train with an actor.
That reminds me of my experience when I was once coming from New York to Los Angeles dressed this way. A movie actor was sitting in front of me. He was extremely disgusted with my long hair and this robe. He was openly sarcastic. But I was highly amused. I knew to be angry with him would be childish, and to let him go on being angry was also foolish, so I thought of healing him. I said, "Pardon me, why do you make such a face?" He said, "None of your business." I said, "Of course it's my business, because every time I look ahead I have to see your face." So he started laughing. He said, "What an audacious person you are." I said, "We will understand each other in a little while." I said, "You know, in this world, we are all a little bit crazy and we don't know it. Because crazy people of the same kind mix with the same kind of crazy people. And I tell you, I know about your craziness. And if I were crazy like you would like me. And if you were crazy like I am, then we would like each other. But the thing is this, I know about your craziness, but you don't know what kind of craziness I have. And fools argue and wise men discuss. Let us discuss, and if at the end of the discussion, constructive discussion, I lose, I will follow you and be a movie actor. And I said, if you lose, you follow me. So we had a 2 hours discussion, and at the end of 2 hours he lost and I won, and I was saved from being a movie actor.
So Yogananda was saved from being a movie actor. Well, let's talk about Adam and Eve. Speaking about movies, Yogananda reports in his autobiography, as well as in this lesson, that when he first learned, when he was a young man, that the Christian Bible, or the Bible, posited the idea that on the transgression of Adam and Eve, the rest of the humanity was condemned, he was not impressed, let's just put it that way. He said, "A just God could never punish babies for the crime of their forefathers. If you eat poison or are sinful, I cannot die of convulsions or sin for you." Well, anyway, be that as it may, he wasn't impressed until he met his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, who explained the deeper meaning of the Adam and Eve story in Genesis. He says that the tree of life and the Garden of Eden, never mind that it could be a place on this earth, just put that aside. He didn't address that. What he did say, though, that the Garden of Eden is the human body, and that the tree of life is the subtle spine through which flows the life, the river of life. And in the Indian scriptures, this human body, this tree of life, is described as an upturned tree. Think of the hair, but it's not about the hair, it's about the intensity of the energy of the brain and the fine, even fleshly material of the brain. The energy of the brain is the roots. So think of an upside-down tree. You turn it, pull it out by the roots, turn it upside down, and so the roots sticking out on top are like the hair or like the energy of the brain. And then the branches are all the different nerves, the efferent and everent nerve systems that come off the spine. And the fruits are the sensations of the different senses, of the 5 senses. And so This is the deeper esoteric or yogic interpretation of the Garden of Eden and Genesis. Now, the fruit of that God commanded Adam and Eve not to eat and not to touch is, as he writes it, the alluring touch sensation, which is the apple. And the serpent is the life energy, which when it is stimulated, when it rises in the body, in the lower chakras, the lower centers of the body, stimulates the memory, the impulse, the desire to procreate by sexual means. And that, in this lesson, he has other lessons in which he explains different parts of it. In this lesson, he doesn't explain what I'm about to say, but in those other lessons, he mentions how Adam and Eve, the first parents, or the first appearance of human bodies, if you prefer, was a result of a conscious intention for the evolution of creation. It's not to deny evolution from lower life forms and so forth, but it's also to state that the appearance of the highly developed nervous system of the human body was intentional in the divine plan. Intentional because with this highly developed nervous system of the human body, we can actually transcend the human body through the vehicle of our awakening the occult centers of the higher centers in the brain. And that this is, in fact, the purpose of creation, to transcend the limitations of the body, of the world and the senses, and to achieve communion with the Spirit, which is the creator and eminent inhabitor of all creation in the silent, invisible sphere of motionlessness and the primordial movement of all things. And so what Adam and Eve represent is that memory in animal forms of procreation through sexual means. And the Eve represents the feeling aspect of human consciousness, and Adam represents the reasoning or perceiving aspect of human consciousness. And so the movement of the life force in the lower centers stimulates the emotion, the feeling, the desire to experience sexual union. The Adam then is convinced, if you will, by the feeling to engage in this way, to eat the apple. Now, Yogananda elsewhere in his teachings would frequently say that reason, the Adam, follows Eve, the feeling. It doesn't take a great deal of amateur psychology to see how that works. When we're feeling emotional about something, we can come up with 12 different reasons why we should feel angry or we should have that thing that we want to buy. And so that's pretty basic psychology. So reason gets overpowered by feeling. Reason can think of 12 different solutions, but won't hit on a solution until intuition or a deeper feeling generates that. And so this story goes on, and then at the end of this, he talks about how in each human life we achieve, when we come to the age of puberty, we awaken. This is the awakening that's spoken of in the Genesis story, takes place in every human being, not just once at puberty when we become sexually aware, but also throughout our life. And it's not just that, it's many other desires that like a hydra-headed monster, appear in many different forms. It's the desire to find in the creation that which we can find more deeply within our own selves. And so this analogy, this story, runs very deep into human consciousness. And then he goes on finally to state that it is possible, as we do see examples in nature, it is possible to procreate without, not by sexual means, but by placing the energy here at the spiritual eye. We don't have any obvious examples of that in our lives at this time, but the conception of Mary, the mother of Jesus, the conception of the mother of Buddha. These are all stories, but they are a reflection of what Yogananda says is possible when we live on a higher plane of consciousness. So there we have it. Adam and Eve, they're still kicking around and causing us all some trouble. Okay, folks, that's it for now. Padma and I are planning. You should know that when these 6 lessons are over, which will be next week sometime, we're going to move on through a database of Yogananda's various articles, letters, writings, and some of his poems and so forth. We're going to keep sharing from his original works, largely unpublished, that we think you'll find inspiration as we do. Okay? Have a wonderful, beautiful, sunny weekend, as we are planning to do here in Western Washington.